So, namaste to our eminent, gorgeous speaker for the day, Dr. Pramila Kudva, and to all the wonderful audience who have been with us right from the very first day the Aadharshila Talk started last year on 22nd of April. Meeting you for the 68th week today for the 68th Aadharshila Talks at RRIS. It is sheer pleasure to be connected and associated with such Aadharshilas who believe in the motto of Ramratna International School of sharing the knowledge, making educators fraternity a vibrant community who believes in sharing, collaborating, and growing together. The one in the series now that we have is Dr. Pramila Kudva. Friends, let me first introduce our speaker for the day. Dr. Pramila is an author, academician, and an educator. With a PhD in education, Dr. Pramila has served diverse industries, leading educational initiatives in her role for corporates as well as educational institutions. She is the author of the book From Chalk to Talk. Make a note, you all have to read it, and you would truly not regret. She is the author of the book From Talk to Talk and writes regularly for several journals and publications, though it's not mentioned here, but I would like to tell you her podcasts are worth listening to. Please make a note of that as well. She has presented research papers on academic areas of interest at national and international conferences. Contributing to the educational community, Dr. Pramila has been a resource person at several organizations, institutions, at seminars, conferences, and conducted workshops on varied topics of general and academic interest at both school and university levels for students as well as teachers, as she is doing today at Aadharshila. Rated the top 100 mentors in the country by AIM Awards 2016. Dr. Pramila is also the recipient of the Best Educationist Award 2017, National Responsible Educator, Caring Principal Award, and many, many more. Let me tell you, I have been a witness to her glory at one of the events where she was nominated in almost every category. I think that was the plan conference by Shaping India, and your kitty was full with awards, and I was just admiring your grace, your beauty, the elegance, and the energy. Ma'am is currently leading the Pawar Public School in her role as the principal. I extend a very warm welcome and bow down in reverence and gratitude to Dr. Pramila, though she prefers that I call her as Pramila. So, Pramila, it's a great pleasure and sheer delight to have you at Aadharshila. Today's topic is highly relevant. I know we as educators do so much that it becomes difficult to even talk of the variety of roles we play. And with that comes satisfaction, no doubt. But that comes with its own challenges. Today, we will learn from Dr. Pawar how a teacher becomes effective. Is the definition of effective that we consider as effective, is it really effective? Are there different layers to effectiveness of a teacher? And how does a teacher traverse through these challenges that the changing times have brought with it? How to, balance your contribution to the development of children as active scholars, and at the same time, how to make them believe in themselves, how to plan your lessons which are balanced with curriculum and exciting pedagogy, how to fulfill unrealistic expectations of the government, of the parents, of the students, of the school administration, and the society in general. And I can just go on and on and on this. So rather than me doing it, I would invite today's speaker, Dr. Kudva, who is an authority to speak on such a topic, to take over. Once again, thank you and welcome. Over to you, Dr. Pramila.
Thank you so much for that overly generous introduction. Thank you, Jaya. At the outset, I'm grateful to Ramratna International School for having given me this opportunity. Without really wasting any more time, I would like to get into the topic because it's a vast topic. And I believe an effective teacher has a great deal to contribute and turn a school into an effective school. So that's my presentation. Shall we start with it? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Can we go to the next slide, please, Vishika? Can we have, what is teacher effectiveness? We'll start from there. I suppose all of you are used to handling a Padlet. So she will put the Padlet link in the chat box. Kindly click on it. Are you done? Have you clicked on it? Does it open? Can I see this? Can I see the Padlet slide?
Yes, we have clicked on it.
Yeah. So you could write, click on that plus sign at the bottom. Yes, now you can type in whatever you feel is teacher effectiveness. You can write your name. If you don't write, it really doesn't matter to me. You have to post it. You type in what is teacher effectiveness according to you. What you think is teacher effectiveness. Coming on time to school, if you think that is teacher effectiveness, write that. Can we see the Padlet screen so I can keep looking at what they've written? Yeah. Improving students' learning. Understand emotional need. Okay. Curiosity, encouraging questions, open learning, ability to implement learning. All right. Matching the learning outcomes to the objectives in a joyous manner. Ability to make a child believe in herself and provide an environment to hone their interests, skills, and talents. Learning, encouraging students. Okay. How many people are there? I need to see many more. Being able to help children to learn how to gather and process knowledge and helping the well-rounded growth of children. Set and achieve goals for results, create curiosity, teacher effectiveness, bringing the learning outcomes, keeping in mind the emotional, psychological, and physical need. Wow. Open learning. And the teachers must have understanding nature. She should be able to know each and every student's nature. It will help to learn students and teacher to learn together. All right. Oh, there's so much that we have got already. Outdoor learning, playway method. Excellent. Making learning fun. Anybody who is left now yet to write in the...
So some of them were not able to access Padlet. I would suggest you please mention in the chat box. Your answer can be typed here in the chat.
Yes.
Ma'am, should I read out from the chat box? Are
Yes,
you able
please.
to access it?
Yeah.
Okay. Miss Debadyuti says, performing multifaceted roles as a facilitator and classroom manager.
Okay.
Ms. Zainab Khan says, being able to ensure personal growth in relation to self-management. Ms. Chetna says, being a lifelong learner.
Yeah. All right. I think we'll go back to the main screen.
And Ms. Aarti Gandhi, the director of Nalanda Foundation, welcome. She says, effective learning in students.
Okay. Now, all of you have given me your perspective, and each of you is right. But there is so much more to effectiveness. Before we get into it, I want to understand, is efficiency the same as effectiveness? Or is it different? You want to type in?
We
No,
are
they're
receiving
different.
the answers no.
Yeah. All right. You're right. Efficiency is not necessarily effectiveness. But can an effective teacher be efficient?
Yes, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes and no. Yes and no. An effective teacher need not be efficient. She may not be able to meet the timelines because she's involved in being so effective that she's not able to meet the timelines.
Very valid point, ma'am.
Yeah. So, to my mind, in addition to all that you have written, there are 4 C's that are important to make an effective teacher. They are connect, care, compassion, and collaboration. Connect, care, compassion, and collaboration. These 4 things, when added to all that you have said so far, makes an effective teacher. Is it easy? Can we go to the next slide, please, Nishita? Yeah. Let's look at some of the challenges that we face. First challenge is curriculum. Is there anybody here who has not borrowed periods from the colleagues just before the examination starts? I did it. I have so much to finish. Syllabus completion is a big problem, particularly if there are A, B, C, D divisions. ABC has finished. I'm lagging behind. Good heavens, the parents are going to give me a hard time. Please give me 2 periods. Then what happens? Those 2 periods are taken. 4 periods of matter will probably have to be finished in 2 periods. So the teacher has to race. So the whole activity of teaching becomes teacher directed and children lose interest in what they need to do. So is there a solution? We'll come to that. Slowly we will look into it. Now, in addition to that, the curriculum transaction in an offline mode is going to be definitely different from that of an online mode. So what is workable in an offline mode need not be workable on an online mode. Most of the time in an online mode, at least this has been my experience, we are exposed to blank screens. The videos are not working. You ask them, oh, Wi-Fi issue. Whether the child is there or not, we don't know. But in the classroom, a teacher has eyes at the back of the head. The teacher knows exactly what is happening. So there is a different scenario. Staff development. According to National Education Policy, the teachers have to be, the professional continuous development has to happen for 50 hours in a year. Now, staff development will require a lot of motivation on the part of the teacher. Invariably, I would find a few teachers, senior ones, coming in and saying, Abhi mujhe karna hai. We have to be lifelong learners. If just imagine when I did my B.Ed, it was chalk and talk. And if I had not upskilled myself, I wouldn't still be working. So we need to learn. We need to study. We need to update ourselves. Having said that, is there any difference between in-service training and upskilling? Is there any difference?
People undergo a lot of trainings, but it's not necessary that they really upskill themselves.
Okay. So now the so-called Nishta training that everybody has to do. What kind of training is that? Nishta training. Is it upskilling?
Our participants must feel free to unmute and speak up. Come on, you all are equal participants in this talk, though we have named it as a talk, but I think our speakers also prefer discussions. Am I right?
I mean, otherwise it's meaningless. I'm talking about
Yes.
interaction, and if I'm going to be just talking, then it becomes teacher directed.
Yes. So please go ahead. Whoever wishes to speak up.
So the Nishta training, is it in-service training or upskilling?
Ma'am, upskilling can be at personal level also, I feel.
Yes.
And in service is, of course, something that relates to the professional world and institution. So from that perspective, I'll say Nishtha is institutionalized because unless you are a teacher attached to an...
Yes, go ahead. You're right. In-service training is that which is mandatory for
I'm
everybody.
not-
I would like to add here.
Suppose if I take interest in an area, I can upskill myself in that area. But in-service training is institutionalized and professional, ma'am. That's what my perspective.
Upskilling can also be professional. It is not that it can't
Yes.
be.
Yes, ma'am.
I would
Yes.
like to just add here. In service is kind of a compulsion.
Yes.
It's a formality
Yes.
to be completed. But when you talk of upskilling, a person's complete commitment is involved, and the
Yes.
person is himself engaged in order to upskill the level of understanding,
Also-
performance, etc.
Also, what is involved in upskilling is there is a gap analysis that is done. What is the requirement of the institution? Where are we? What is the gap? And based on that, upskilling is planned. So this is basically the difference. Nishta is now compulsory for everybody. And they have made it compulsory for even the principals to do it. So the principals understand what difficulties the teachers go through. Anyway, having said that, what we also need to understand is the staff is burning out. The teachers are burning out. So we need to plan some light-hearted activities also. Maybe a Zumba session, maybe a yoga session. Because you can't take them out on a picnic yet. Teachers' Day also couldn't be offline. So there are some things which we can do to lighten up the mood. Behavior. Now there are teachers who are growth-oriented teachers. There are teachers who are comfort-oriented teachers. अभी हो गया ना, इतना साल के बाद अभी क्या करना है, बस. So such teachers also need to be made to look at it from a different perspective. So the principal's role or the HOD's role or the headmistress role has to be very, very, what shall I say, alert. One teacher has to be alert. This individual has to be alert and plan accordingly, be a role model, practice an open door policy, talk to them. Reading. I have a hilarious experience to narrate here. I was taking a session. There were 45 participants. And I was talking about various new techniques of teaching. And my book has about 200 pages of techniques of teaching. So the organizers, they said, you can get, if you place an order now, you can get an author signed copy. I agreed. Out of the 45, about 20 of them showed interest. The organizers were very pleased. Oh, about 50% of them want to buy the book. Out of the 20, about 12 reached out to me. And finally, 2 people bought it. Is it that the teachers don't want to read? Or is it just that the teachers don't have the time to read? I have no answer for that. That is something which you have to answer yourself. Quality assurance. Now, quality assurance deals with delivering what you have promised to deliver. If quality education is that which you have promised, then you need to provide quality education. Now, when I say quality education, what would it be? Child-centered education can be quality education. Anything else that you can think of? Independent learners, developing independent learners, having continuous professional development. These are all things which go to provide quality assurance to the stakeholders. So let's now go into
Being relevant. I think a teacher who is relevant,
yes,
who knows the application of what is being taught to the current world and what's happening around a child.
correct. So let's go to what is relevant now. Can I go to the next slide, please? Next slide. Next slide, Vishika. Yeah. I've written a few things here. I like the way it was flowing. but I don't know if you really understand it. Let me just read through it. The brain has a tendency to be lazy. So when that happens, it tends to be irrational. And when it becomes irrational, it can affect our perception. And when it affects our perception, it can affect our beliefs. And when the beliefs are affected, it makes us act differently. Oh, I've said so many words. Now, if I were to say it, put it across succinctly. Can I have the next slide, please? It just means our perceptions affect our beliefs, and we decide to act based on our beliefs. I've got a couple of stories to narrate here. There was a teacher who was a piano teacher. She had many small children, aged about 10, 12 years old, and they would come, play the piano. She would give them the feedback. They would do their homework, come back and play again. And she had one boy. He always came dressed very shabbily, unkempt look. And he would play because it was as if somebody is forcing him to play. And it came to a point where the teacher said, let me give up on him. He is useless. This fellow is not learning. He's just coming here to pay the money and waste my time. It was the annual day where every child had to perform. This child was absent. And the teacher said to herself, let it be, good riddance. He doesn't play anyway. But halfway through the program, he comes. And how does he appear? Unkempt as usual. Anyway, he's come. The teacher, being a teacher, says, all right, you also play, go. And he played beautifully that day. His fingers were nimble and they danced across the keyboard. And everybody gave him a standing ovation. Teacher was thrilled. She went up to him and asked him, all these days you were playing as if somebody was forcing you to play. And today you played beautifully, delightfully. What was the difference? You would be shocked to know what the child said. My mother was deaf-mute. She was suffering from cancer. She died yesterday. Today she is in heaven and she can hear me. So I played for her. Such a touching moment, isn't it? A beautiful, touching moment. So you never know why the child is behaving the way he is or she is. I have another example, which is closer to home. Real life incident built on COVID times. Teachers normally take the online lessons either from home or from school. This particular teacher started teaching from a garden. 1 day, 2 days. The third day, the mother of a child wrote a stinker of a mail to the principal. A kilometer-long mail. Why it has to be taught in a room which is less noisy. It should be done from home or from school. All that general gyan was given to the principal. And this teacher is doing this, and kindly see to it that norms are adhered to. All right. The principal read it patiently and wrote back to the mother. Thank you for the input. I shall communicate this to the teacher. The teacher insisted on taking the online classes because she felt the children would lose out. And she's taking the class from the garden because adjacent to the garden is the hospital where her mother is admitted. So what does it tell you? Listen to both sides. Listen to both perspectives. Listen to the frame of reference before you take a decision. I have had teachers who have taken lessons from hospitals. Anyway, we still are not the frontline warriors, which is the saddest part, but we are the committed lot.
Ma'am, I would just like to add here, such teachers deserve awards and not brickbats. And those teachers who have experienced such kind of comments from their colleagues or parents or anybody, do not let that dampen your spirits. And I would just like to add to what you said. I have hosted one Aadharshila talk from the ICU where my mother was admitted last month. So yeah, I think if you are committed to something, you anyhow manage it.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Teachers are a committed lot, and we try to meet our expectations to the best of our ability all the time. All the time. Can we move to the next slide, Vishika? Now, this is very, very critical. Openness and trust, care, interdependence, and mutual satisfaction. We have all had a favorite teacher. And that favorite teacher has been responsible for our taking up a particular subject, or a teacher whom we did not like has made us drop a particular subject. My office at school is located next to the infirmary. Now, there are some days, I'm talking about the pre-COVID days, of course. There are some days where at a particular time, there are a whole lot of children in the infirmary with stomach aches. And during the annual day practice, there are no children in the infirmary. And during the PE training for the sports day, all those who are not athletically inclined are all in the infirmary. So we did some research and we found out that who are the teachers in whose period the children get driven to the infirmary. And then we decided to have more upskilling sessions. Now, having said that, there is also something that I would like to share, a couple of incidents. There was this teacher, she was the class teacher of Standard 5. And these children were to go out of Bombay for 3 days and 2 nights. One of the students was a Sardar. So they have to tie their hair in a particular way. The teacher, I believe, went to the house of the Sardar to learn from the mother how to tie the hair. Now, the teacher had forgotten all about this. A few years later, that boy tracked her down, came to her house with a bouquet of flowers, a box of chocolates, and a wedding card. Not just that, he invited the whole batch to the wedding. So somewhere, I think such things do matter. I know this story because the teacher involved is me. That's how I know it. I felt like the Queen of England that day. I don't remember having gone to the house, but I remember the wedding and everything involved with it. I felt like the Queen of England. There is another incident which I want to share with you. When a negative feedback comes your way, how do you deal with it? There was this teacher who has excellent PPTs, but the interaction was missing. So one smarty pants, who is a little arrogant, stood up and said, "Your lessons are not interesting. We have to teach the children how to say things in a non-violent manner." But anyway, this happened. The teacher was in tears because it was said in front of the whole class. So the teacher brought him down. I listened to both sides and I said, okay, I will come to class and I'll teach the same lesson. I made the teacher sit in my class. To learn from peer learning is something which is very important here. I made her sit in my class and I introduced a new technique. It was easy because I had just written a book and I knew those techniques. So I introduced a technique called from the problem tree to a solution tree. And the lesson was full of interaction. Everybody enjoyed it. And the boy in turn said, Miss, can you use this technique to teach? The matter was solved. So the teacher realized what they want, and the boys also realized that they could have been a little more polite. So there has to be mutual satisfaction, interdependence. I think I've given you enough stories. Maybe I could just go on now. Shall we go to the next slide? So far, everything good? Any questions? We can
Fantastic.
take a break.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Now, for child-centric education, what do we need? We need to empower the teachers. What is empowerment? Teacher, you are empowered doesn't make it empowerment. What is empowerment? Involving the teachers in the decision-making process is empowerment. If the syllabus is too long and you're not this is the COVID time, the syllabus has to be cut down, involve the teacher.
I would also even suggest not just be the one who is instructing the teacher to cut the syllabus by having a dialogue, but an empowered teacher is the one who has the trust that I can approach with this concern myself that I'm not able to finish with it. So can we, implement some solutions for it?
So I said that earlier, Jaya.
Right. So she also knows
has to be open and
absolutely
open door policy.
Right. And I feel that does not happen just from the principal, but everybody else as well.
Yes.
In the whole system.
Principal is the role model and she has to walk the talk.
Absolutely.
She has to walk the talk. Now, an empowered teacher goes with confidence to the classroom. And that confidence rubs off on the children. So empowering teachers is very, very important. Connect to community. I've got many examples here. My school is in Kandivali, and there is a police station there on the highway. Next to the police station used to be a dumping ground. A few senior citizens got together and converted the dumping ground into a garden. And they did something more than a garden. They created a miniature tropical forest in that area. The minute you enter there, the microclimate drops down by about 3 to 4 degrees. We went there, we had a look. Beautifully made. Very nice. But nobody knows which plant is what. So my botany teacher and the students, we made labels for those plants. We wrote the botanical name and also the generic name and handed it over to them. And also we had to show them which one goes where. It should not be that the rubber plant should be planted as the banana tree. So we had to tell them which should go where. And this was one of the things that we did. And all the children, generally, the student council manages the traffic in the morning outside the school. And they keep saying that don't sound horns, but that goes on deaf ears. Everybody goes on. That's a different thing. And a couple of years ago, we had painted the Kandivali railway station. The beautification, we had painted yoga postures. And we've also done street plays on Save the Water. When we had the drought, almost. About how many years ago was that? 4 years ago? Or 3 years ago? 3 years ago, I think. So we did that. So we have been doing this kind of a community programs and reaching out to the community. Can you click on that next one, experiential learning?
Ma'am, I would just like to share something I read today in the newspaper. I'm currently at Ujjain, a place in MP, and the university students have decided they have also grown a similar garden. and instead of putting labels there, they have put QR codes. People who walk there, it's an open area. It's called Oxygen Park, something like that. There is an oxygen tax also now in the university area for those who go daily for a walk there. So, you can scan the QR code and on your screen, you can get all the details. It's like that tree speaking to you, telling its medicinal properties, its biological name, etc.
High tech, yes.
So that's a fantastic thing to do as well.
Yeah, that could be the next thing to do.
Yes.
That could be the next thing. Thank you. Thank you so much. It made so much of sense.
Yes, I was thinking how we can do it, from the school,
Yeah.
something of similar sort.
Certainly. This would be the next thing. Thank you. Yeah. Experiential learning. Can we click on that hyperlink? Is she there? Did she hear me? Can we have the next slide, please?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there. 1 second.
Yeah.
Nishita is probably having some connectivity issues.
We'll go to the next slide. Don't worry about clicking on that. Yeah, this is one of my favorite slides. These are my senior KG babies. They've gone on a nature walk and they're studying the roots and the plants. Look at the way they're observing. Look at the way they are discussing. The way they're sitting down there and drawing things. After that, they would come back to class and they would tell the teacher, they would discuss amongst themselves in groups, and they would tell the teacher what they saw, what they observed, and then the teacher will explain, and the whole thing becomes clear to them. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. Integrated learning. Now, if we were to take the topic of shadow, in science, you can have light and shadows project. You can even tell them about the Jantar Mantar. History, it could be Indian folk culture. Maths, shadows, measuring of shadows in inches and centimeters, length of the shadow at different points in time. Literature, Robert Louis Stevenson's poem, My Shadow. I have a little shadow which goes in and out with me. That's something everybody has studied. Geography, it can be eclipses. Art and craft. So this is an interdisciplinary, integrated way of teaching. Then the whole concept becomes clear to everybody. It's not compartmentalized. You're not studying shadow only in literature. You're studying it fully, holistically. I have another example. Next slide, please. Yeah. This is my book, From Chalk to Talk. I've got a technique called RAF technique mentioned in that. R stands for role. In this, I have taken the role of nature lovers. A stands for audience. In this, the audience is the student who squished the butterfly. Format is admonition. Format could be anything. Here, it is admonition. Topic is take care of the creatures of the earth. How does it work? Let's go to the next slide, please. Yeah. Now, the students of grade 2 have written to that butterfly squisher why he would do a thing such as this. You could read it. Can you read it? Yeah. Why you would do a thing such as this. Butterfly is such a beautiful creature and she wouldn't hurt you. On the contrary, she would help you to pollinate, cross-pollination. And you shouldn't have done that. We are writing this with the permission of the teacher. This could be an essay. Now, what are the other things that you could have here? A dialogue between a moth and a butterfly as to who is the better one. Life cycle through science. Writing poems can be Hindi, Marathi, or even English. Symmetry in mathematics and art and craft on how to make the butterfly and the moth. The difference between the regular, integrated, multidisciplinary teaching and this is that is where everybody is, science teacher is teaching science, English teacher is teaching English. Here, even the English teacher can use this even the science teacher can use this way of writing, which can be a part of the English writing.
Ma'am, I'm just thinking, we can also use this as a values and a life skill lesson when we
Absolutely.
talk of metamorphosis, how this beautiful butterfly came into being, going through that painful process.
I would have it as a dialogue
Right.
between the butterfly and the chrysalis stage. The butterfly
Right.
tells the chrysalis, be prepared to undergo ups and downs, suffer through those aches and pains so that you emerge victorious.
Absolutely. And maybe, it could be dramatized where
Yes,
we can show the human parents being overprotective
absolutely.
and, how they are not allowing the child to go through that painful process of evolving and developing herself.
Yes. So this raft technique is something which you can get the Great Wall of China to talk about the various people who have tried to come across the wall into China and what the Great Wall of China has witnessed over the years. There is no end to the creativity that you can use through the raft technique. Can we go ahead? Okay. Now, according to the national education policy, we need to develop independent learners. In order to do that, we have to praise the effort. At no point in time will you say, oh, you are a clever boy, you can do this. Effort is what needs to be emphasized upon. To give you an example, Vinod Kambli and Sachin Tendulkar. It's believed that Vinod Kambli was a tad better than Sachin Tendulkar as far as cricket technique is concerned. But in the early 20s, he couldn't face a bouncer from, I think, Courtney Walsh, and he gave up playing cricket for the rest of his life. Sachin Tendulkar continued to play. He had the grit, the determination, the perseverance to continue. So you cannot just depend on effort to be successful. So don't praise the effort, but don't praise the talent, but praise the effort that the child has put in. So provide more opportunities. Move from the familiar to unfamiliar, from the known to the unknown. Teach the concept and get the children to apply it to the day-to-day experiences. That is when they will understand the concept better. There is a self-study technique, SQ4R. I don't know if everybody knows it. Can we go to the next slide, please? SQ4R deals with, questioning, forming questions, framing questions is one of the most difficult thing to do. It's not easy at all. It's not easy for the teachers, and it's even more difficult for the children to frame questions. To be an independent learner, you need to know how to frame the questions and learn the answers for it. So you need to go through this survey. Q stands for questions. 4R stand for read, recall, review, and record. It could be, I think it's given here, relate. It could be record also. So this is how you will learn. If I were to go more into the details, I will need another hour, so I'll skip that. Now, think, pair, and share. That is another technique, which is a collaborative technique. Yeah, which is a collaborative technique. And in this technique, the children think after the teacher has given some explanation, and they discuss it with their partner. There are two every time there is a pair. They discuss it with the partner and then share it. Now, when they share it, in the lower classes, it's easier for them to share. In the older classes, it's difficult for you to get them to share. Then what do? I have a very simple solution for that. You get them to pair, think, pair, and tell them when they share it, they're going to make an Instagram post, or they're going to write a tweet, and then see the responses. It will work beautifully. If you just tell them to share, it won't work. A tweet, Instagram post, they will ask you, can we make a reel? Oh yeah, there you can. Can we go to the next slide, please? Varied techniques. No one size fits everyone. We all know that. So different techniques, I don't want to spend any more time on that. We have discussed it enough. Supportive learning environment. I have some stories here for you. We had a child who had muscular dystrophy. He would come in a wheelchair. He was permitted the use of the lift. He would go up to the class. And every year, his class would be moved closest to the toilet. And in the washroom, in the stall, there would be a rod which would be fixed. These are all small things that go to the supporting learning environment. There was another girl. I'm talking about 1986. In my school, there was a girl, bright spark. I was teaching science, and every time her hand would go up and she would answer. But when it came to writing, what she wrote was Greek and Latin. Nobody could read it. And we all wanted to help the child. Those days, the B.Ed curriculum did not have a single chapter on learning disability. So we didn't know the child had learning disability. But what we had was the right heart in the right place. So all of us teachers together, we decided, after she writes the test, we would call her, we would take her oral assessment and evaluate her on that. And that's what we did. But today we know what we did unknowingly is the right thing that should have been done. Teamwork. I'll just take you through the steps. Can you click on the teamwork? Yes. Now, if I were to put you in a breakout room, when you go into the breakout room, first thing what you would do is you would introduce yourself to one another. That's the forming stage. And then is the storming stage. Then it could be like, "Arey, bahut bol rahe hai yaar. हाँ, वो school के 2-3 जन है ना, अभी show off कर रहे हैं, देखो." These are all things which is storming. And then it comes to a time where you realize that you need to work together. You need to deliver. So that's when the supporting hand comes up. And after that, then you perform. And once the assignment is over, then you adjourn. I just thought this would be interesting information to give you. Can we go back?
And the way you spoke, you even made it humorous.
Oh, thank you.
It was a light moment, though there was serious learning going on.
Feedback, I have told you how to accept the feedback, not get too worked up. Use of appropriate scaffolding. Children need to be given those crutches. Now, when the COVID struck, my NEP children were left in the lurch. They didn't have smartphones. They couldn't learn. And there was no way we could have supplied smartphones to 200 odd people. So what we did was, we used the regular telephone to call them up, solve their doubts. So we used the telephone. We couldn't let them come to school, but we used the telephone to teach them the assisted learning program. Technical skills. Technical skills, I think we have learned enough in the past 1.5 years. What we would have learned in the 5 years, we have learned it in the past 1.5 years. Would you click on the sense of humor? Okay, now this is something I would like to share with you. Teachers' Day program, my 10th standards helped us to put up. They did a program for the teachers on the Teachers' Day. And this was a little sense of humor that I would like to share with you. Can you play the video, please?
1 second, ma'am. I'm playing.
Yeah, yeah.
Ma'am, it's not happening.
It's not working?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, never mind. Never mind. I'll tell you what it is all about. The children, should I open it from my laptop and see if it works?
Yes, ma'am. Please do that.
Then you'll have to, I don't know how to share the screen here.
Ma'am, on this screen at the bottom, you see 3 dots
Okay.
towards the right. You click, I think it would give you an option of share screen.
Ma'am, after raise hand button, there is an upward arrow. Click on that, ma'am.
Not the 3 dots. Next to the 3 dots,
Hold on.
present now. Between the hand and 3 dots.
This one.
Ma'am, next to the mic is camera, then caption, then raise hand.
Yeah.
And then present now.
Present.
Now. Yeah. Nishita, have you stopped sharing?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, we can see it.
Yeah, there it is.
For me, it's
There
like
is
a
a tag.
stuck screen.
Sorry?
I can't see it moving, ma'am.
It's frozen and there is a lag. Now it works.
Okay. It's not audible, by the way.
No?
No. I don't know if others can hear. I can't hear it.
We'll stop
It's
it.
not audible.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll close this.
But we all could see that the whole team was looking delighted with whatever was happening, and then you were
what
saying
happened
something.
was, I just suggested that since they put the screen on the blink every time, since they have put in 2 hours of hard work, we will go on the blink for 15 minutes. Then they said, no, we apologize. We realize that we need to give you 100 times more respect than what we have been doing, etc., etc., etc. And everybody laughed. Everybody laughed.
Ma'am, you reminded me that we had similar discussions on Teachers' Day when our students celebrated. I'm sure our teachers also remember how, we were giving different ideas of how we can act like children and make them realize what they do with the teachers.
Anyway, can we have the share screen back?
Yes, ma'am. I have shared the screen.
You have shared the screen. Okay, can we go ahead? We'll skip this. Yeah. So the teacher's role has now changed from that of a repository of knowledge to that of a facilitator or a coach. So you can see for yourself what COACH stands for. Earlier, when we were children came up to us asking, is this true? Is this so and so? Where is this found? How is this done? Today they have the Google. They don't need us for that. So what we need is to be a coach or a facilitator, to give them the direction. Next slide, please. Now the GROW model is what we need to look at, which tells us where we are and where we want to be. We could play that video if it works, I hope. Doesn't work?
Yes, ma'am. Give me 2 minutes. 1 minute, ma'am. I'm clear.
So GROW stands for these 4 things. So it's clear to you what GROW stands for? Goals, options, and what does it stand for? Reality and way forward. Finally, the mistakes that the new teachers make. They try to do too much and they're not being consistent enough, assuming that the same strategy will work every time, not thinking carefully and plan. These are some of the mistakes that they make. Can we go to the next slide, please? I don't want to read this, but I'll leave it there for a minute or two for you to mull upon. With this, we come to the end of the presentation. Thank you. If you have any questions, I would be ready to take them on the dot.
Yes, I was about to remark that. These 2 minutes also are for reflection, to come up with our questions or with thoughts. Please feel free to share. We can take maybe half a minute of quiet time to understand what thoughts arise. And if you would like to present before the speaker.
Namaste, ma'am. Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Hi, this is Pushpendra here. Ma'am, I just want to ask you about your own personal teachers and what kind of influences you got from them, like in terms of the quality of life that they had that you liked, or any example that you can share with us. Which teacher influenced you and why?
Many teachers have influenced me, particularly from my B.Ed days. One of the teachers who influenced me is not there anymore. She's moved on in life. It's because of her that I did my master's in sociology.
What was the reason, ma'am?
She was good and she had that heart in the right place. She reached out to me when I was in trouble.
I think that qualifies for pretty much everything. Thank you, ma'am.
Well said.
Anybody else?
Such stories may be rare and maybe discussed also several times, but I believe it's very important to rediscuss, listen to these stories again and again so that we can relate ourselves with such teachers and see, are we there yet? And if not, what's stopping us?
True.
Any more questions, thoughts?
If there are no questions, there can be 2 reasons for it. 1, everything was well explained. 2, There was nothing that could be.
I'll go with the first one, and I'm sure the majority, I have everybody, not just majority, everybody in the first category. So here we formally bring this. Okay.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Namaste, ma'am.
Namaste.
Dr. Smita here. Ma'am, it was an excellent session, really an eye-opening and, making us realize where we need to work upon. One question on a personal note, I would like to ask you that
Yes.
you have crossed a big, huge journey of being a teacher and then moving to the principal. So if given a chance, would you like to be a principal or you would like to be a teacher?
Okay. So let me just go back to something else. I have worked in the corporate also. And from the corporate, I moved down to the school with a downward revision in salary because school is where I wanted to be. I think principals are also teachers. As a principal, I think somewhere I have made a difference, which is also satisfying. I'm not as close to the children as I would have liked to be had I been a teacher. But every time you cannot have what you want. And this is also a good job in the sense that I'm able to make a difference, not only to the children, but also to the teachers, somewhere, I'm sure.
I agree
Yes,
word
ma'am.
to word.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, it was a wonderful answer. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
I think I would have said the same thing, exactly the same things what you said, ma'am, if this was ever asked to me.
you.
And in fact, when I was quite young, I became the principal at the age of 33, and I was pursuing my PhD during that time, and I shared this feeling with my director of my program, my PhD program, and I said somewhere, being a principal has brought me away from children. I used to enjoy very good rapport, very good connection with the students since the time I had started teaching. And there I could see that now there is a gap, and I was missing that love connection that I used to feel with children. And the answer that he said that you care for children, and that's what you're missing, but you're forgetting that all the vision that you have for children, how they should be groomed and all, now you can multiply it through so many teachers. Your thoughts, your vision, your strategies, your ideals can be brought down to teachers, and all those so many teachers can make such a huge change. And that was something which has stayed with me. His answer has stayed with me, and I thought this is my way of impacting the lives of children. It need not be a direct face-to-face daily classroom interaction, but they would realize with time that somewhere maybe I have played a role. And even if they don't realize, I would be having this relief in my heart that I was able to make a change.
True.
Thank you, ma'am. Beautiful questions, Smita ma'am. For those who feel that, as you grow up the ladder in administration, you would no longer be a teacher. And if you're talking about classroom teaching, the doors are always open. Take up whatever classes you like, So feel free to do that. Any more questions? Ma'am, I can see that people are full of gratitude for all the pearls of wisdom that you have shared with us today. And with your permission, we would like to bring this session to a close. We would like to also play this little gratitude video. I hope teachers have a better definition of effectiveness today with them, and also how they can cope up with the challenges and bring out their best for children. Let's watch this little video, ma'am, that is your honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
May I